Loneliness does not only make a room quiet, sometimes it slowly gives you a new name. Silence does not arrive empty. Sometimes it quietly starts rewriting the story of your life. It tells you the chair is empty because you are no longer needed. It tells you the silent phone proves your life has become small. And if you listen long enough, silence can sound like a sentence God never spoke. A spoon touches the side of a bowl. The television stays on, not because anyone is watching, but because the house needs another human voice. A chair sits slightly pulled out, as if someone might come. Then the question rises quietly, have I been forgotten? That question hurts because it does not only touch your schedule, it touches your worth. But an empty chair is not a prophet. Psalm 25:16 says, "Turn to me and be gracious to me, for I am lonely and afflicted." God did not shame that prayer. He preserved it. So you do not have to pretend the room feels full. You can bring the ache honestly before Him and say, "Lord, this hurts." But do not let silence become your teacher. Being old and alone does not mean you are abandoned. The room may be quiet tonight, but quiet is not proof that heaven has stopped seeing you. The first wound, the silent chair. The first wound of loneliness is not the empty room. It is the chair no one seems to notice anymore. The place where someone used to sit across from you. The place where conversation used to land. The place where laughter once crossed the table. Now the chair is quiet. The room is clean. The day is orderly. A spoon touches the side of the bowl. The clock moves softly on the wall. And something in the heart aches in a way that feels almost embarrassing to admit. So many older adults hide it. They say, "I'm fine." They say, "I'm used to it." They say, "Everyone is busy." But inside, another sentence is forming. "Maybe I do not matter as much as I used to." That is where loneliness becomes dangerous. Not when you feel alone, but when you let aloneness become your name. You stop telling people the truth because you do not want to sound needy. You stop reaching out because you fear the phone will stay silent. You stop admitting the pain because you think faith should make you stronger than this. Some people do not hide loneliness because they are dishonest. They hide it because they feel ashamed that they still need someone. But needing presence does not make you weak. It means you are human. You were not created as a stone, untouched and self-contained. You were created for love, voice, presence, and communion. But hidden loneliness does not disappear. It becomes weather inside the soul. Psalm 25:16 says, "Turn to me and be gracious to me, for I am lonely and afflicted." That verse is not polished. It is a cry. And God allowed that cry to remain in Scripture. That matters. It means God did not treat loneliness as a weakness to edit out of holy language. It means loneliness is not something you must hide before God. You can be faithful and still say, "This hurts." You can love God and still miss a human voice. You can trust heaven and still feel an empty room. The trap is believing that admitting loneliness makes you weak. It does not. It makes you honest, and honesty is where healing begins. So name it, not as defeat, as prayer. Say, "Lord, I am lonely. Do not let this silence lie to me. Do not let this empty chair tell me I am forgotten." Because once you stop letting loneliness name you, you are ready to face the next wound. The painful habit of measuring your worth by who still shows up. The second wound, the unanswered door. There is a kind of pain that comes from waiting for someone who does not come. The door stays closed. A message is seen, but not answered. A birthday passes, with fewer voices than before. You tell yourself you are not waiting, but your heart still listens for footsteps. But the heart still counts. Who called? Who had time? Who did not? And slowly, disappointment becomes a question. Then, the question becomes a verdict. Maybe I do not matter like I used to. That is the moment silence stops being a room and starts becoming a judge. Absence starts pretending to be evidence. I have seen this pain in the smallest details. A cup placed on the table for someone who never arrives. A porch light left on too long. A hand reaching for the phone, then stopping because it is tired of being first to care. The silence is not just quiet anymore. It starts talking. But people can be absent without having the authority to define your worth. They can be busy, distracted, wounded, selfish, immature, or unaware of how much their silence hurts. That does not make the pain imaginary. It only means their absence is not the final truth about you. Isaiah 49:15 says, "Can a woman forget her nursing child? That she should have no compassion on the son of her womb? Even these may forget, yet I will not forget you." Even these may forget. That line is painful because it is honest. Human love, even when it should remember, can fail. But God draws a line beyond every unanswered door. I will not forget you. Be honest here, but not cruel to yourself. Have you been letting unreliable people decide whether your life still matters? That is too heavy for them, and too dangerous for you. Yes, it hurts when people do not show up. The closed door may reveal disappointment. It may reveal relationships that need repair, honesty, or release. But it does not reveal that God has abandoned you. There is a difference between being hurt by absence and being defined by it. And when that truth begins to settle, silence loses some of its power. Because you are no longer asking every closed door to tell you who you are. But when the present grows too quiet, the heart often runs somewhere else. It runs backward, into the past. The third wound, the window of memory. When the present becomes quiet, the past gets louder. That is one of the hidden pains of being old and alone. Memory does not knock before entering. A psalm plays softly from another room. A photograph catches your eye. The smell of rice, bread, or coffee rises from the kitchen, and suddenly, you are not only sitting in today. You are back there, a younger face, a full table, a voice that is gone. A version of yourself who still believed tomorrow might be kind. Sometimes, one old photograph can make the whole room feel crowded again. And for a moment, the past feels warmer than the present. That is where the danger begins. Memory can comfort you, but it can also trap you. It can become a window you look through with gratitude, or a room you refuse to leave. Memory can be a gift when it teaches you gratitude, but it becomes a thief when it steals your ability to receive today. And when loneliness keeps pulling you backward, you may start believing your best days are not only behind you, but that nothing meaningful remains ahead. I have seen how tender nostalgia can feel, but tenderness is not harmless. Sometimes what you miss is not only the people who are gone, you miss the version of yourself who still expected joy. Ecclesiastes 7:10 says, "Say not, why were the former days better than these? For it is not from wisdom that you ask this." That verse does not shame memory. It warns against worshiping it. Because when the past becomes your only place of comfort, the present starts looking like punishment. You stop noticing the mercy still here. Morning light on the wall, breath in your chest. A person you could bless, a prayer you could whisper, a small peace God may be placing beside you today. Maybe the question is not whether the past was beautiful, Maybe it was. Maybe it held love, laughter, strength, and a version of life that will never return in the same way. But are you remembering because it gives wisdom? Or are you returning there because you no longer believe God can meet you here? There is a difference. The past may hold love, lessons, grief, and beauty, but it cannot hold your whole soul. Let memory speak. Let it teach. Let it soften you, but do not let it lock the door behind you. But what if even your warmest memories are not enough to keep you warm? What if the past can remind you of love, but cannot carry you through this room tonight? That is when the question becomes more frightening. God, are you still near? That is where the next wound begins. When the empty room starts pretending it is proof that God Himself is far away. The fourth wound, the winter well. There is a kind of loneliness that makes even prayer feel cold. You sit in the room and try to speak to God. The house is quiet. The chair is empty. Even the lamp beside you gives more light than warmth. And somewhere in the ache, a thought begins to form. If God were near, would I feel this alone? I know how easily that question can start sounding like truth. Because loneliness can turn feeling into evidence. It tells you that if you feel abandoned, then you must be abandoned. If no one sits beside you, then heaven must be far away too. If your heart feels cold, then God must have stepped back. But feelings can tell the truth about pain without telling the truth about God. I have had to learn this slowly. I used to think a cold heart meant God had stepped away. But sometimes, it only meant I had been listening to pain longer than promise. The presence of ache is not the absence of grace. Sometimes the heart hurts in the very place where God is still carrying it. Isaiah 46:4 says, "Even to your old age I am He, and to gray hairs I will carry you." Carry, not simply watch, not occasionally remember. Carry. The world may teach an older person to feel like a burden. But God does not speak of old age as a burden He resents. He speaks of it as a life He still carries. That means God's nearness is not canceled by your empty room. His faithfulness is not measured by visits. His care does not weaken because your body is slower. Your circle is smaller or your nights feel longer. The winter well is where the soul comes with an empty bucket and learns that God's promise has not frozen over. Not by denying the pain, but by refusing to let pain become your only truth. Because if loneliness becomes your interpreter, every silence will sound like rejection. But if God becomes your interpreter, the room changes. It may still be quiet, but it is not empty. And once you believe you are still carried, even here, another question rises. What will loneliness do to your heart? Will it make you softer with love or harder with bitterness? The fifth wound, the small fire. Bitterness rarely begins as bitterness. It begins as exhaustion. And it does not always make you loud. Sometimes it only makes you unreachable. You may not even call it bitterness at first. You may call it being tired. Tired of reaching first. Tired of smiling first. Tired of acting like it does not hurt when no one asks how you are. Sometimes you stop reaching first, not because you stopped loving people, but because your soul is tired of asking for proof that you still matter. At first, the pain wants comfort. Then it wants an explanation. Then it wants someone to blame. If the wound stays alone too long, it hardens into one quiet sentence. If they do not care about me, why should I care about them? That is how bitterness enters, not loudly. Sometimes it comes dressed as self-protection. You stop calling first. You stop asking about others because no one asks about you. Your hand reaches for the phone, then pulls back. A small coldness settles in, and you call it being realistic. Bitterness often disguises itself as wisdom. It says, "Stop reaching, stop caring." But protection becomes dangerous when it turns into isolation. There is a wounded guard inside many lonely hearts. It does not want to hate people. It only wants to keep you from being hurt again. But something inside is closing. And bitterness can feel powerful when you have felt powerless for too long. They forgot me, so I will forget them. They did not come, so I will not reach out. They made me feel invisible, so I will make my heart unavailable. But is that freedom, or is pain deciding who you become? I have learned that a closed heart can feel safe, but it becomes a lonely house with the windows nailed shut. Nothing gets in, but nothing gets out either. Hebrews 13:16 says, "Do not neglect to do good and to share what you have, for such sacrifices are pleasing to God." That verse does not say to do good only when you feel remembered. It reminds you that even in a quiet season, your heart can still give warmth. A prayer, a kind word, a small gift, a letter written with tired hands, a gentle call without keeping score. This is not begging for love. It is refusing to let neglect disciple your heart. Are you protecting your heart, or are you letting bitterness become its owner? There is a difference. The small fire is the love that remains when life gives you fewer reasons to feel loved. Keep it burning, even if it is small, even if no one notices. Because when bitterness takes the room, it does not only push people away, it pushes away the tenderness your own soul still needs. And if that fire goes out, the final loneliness becomes darker. It waits for the night hours when no one is there, and you must decide whether solitude will become despair or prayer. The sixth wound, the night watch. Lord, it is night again, and I am tired of being brave. That may be the most honest prayer an older soul can pray when the house grows still and the day has no more noise to hide behind. Night can make loneliness feel larger. The night does not create every fear. It simply removes the noise that was covering it. During the day, there are small distractions: a meal to prepare, a window to open, a cup to rinse beside the sink. But at night, the noise fades. The room grows still. The body feels weaker. And the thoughts come closer. Suddenly, you are alone with questions you avoided. Who will be here if something happens? How much time do I have? Will anyone remember me when I am gone? These questions are heavy because they touch the deepest fear beneath loneliness. Not just being alone, but disappearing completely. I have learned that the night becomes dangerous when the heart has no place to put its fear. A lamp glows beside the bed. The clock keeps ticking. One thought opens another. One memory pulls another behind it. And before you know it, solitude has become a tunnel. By morning, the body may rise, but the spirit feels older than it did the night before. But the Bible gives another picture of lonely hours. Luke 2:37 says of Anna, "She did not depart from the temple, worshiping with fasting and prayer night and day." Anna was old. She knew loss. She knew long waiting. Yet she did not let loss turn her final years into a waiting room for death. She turned her hidden hours into watchful hours, prayerful hours, hours where loneliness was not denied, but offered. That is the difference. Solitude without God can become despair, but solitude brought before God can become a watchtower. Fear turns the night into a cellar. Prayer turns it into a watchtower. Not because the pain disappears, because the silence is no longer ownerless. When night comes, do not let fear lead the whole conversation. Every time you place that fear into God's hands, you are not being passive. You are guarding the doorway of your mind. Each small prayer is like placing a lamp there. Not to deny the darkness, but to keep it from ruling the room. No performance, no long speech, just the truth. Lord, I am afraid. Stay near, hold me through this night. Do not let my mind become a room where loneliness lies freely. That prayer may not sound impressive, but it is warfare. The night watch is when an older soul refuses to let darkness have the final word. It is when a quiet room becomes holy ground. And if you believe you are still seen in the night, the morning does not have to begin with defeat. The final question remains, when no one else is in the room, will you believe you are still seen? The final truth, do not let the empty room rename you. One morning, the room may still be quiet. The chair may still be empty. The phone may still lie face up on the table without sound. Morning light may still fall across the same quiet floor. But the silence will not have the same power. You will know this now. Quiet is not proof that you are alone. An empty chair is not a prophet. The chair may still be there, but it has lost its pulpit. It cannot name your soul. It cannot erase the God who still sees you. So tonight, if there is a chair near you, place one hand on it. Not because the chair has power, but because the lie tried to use it against you. Then whisper, "This chair does not get to name me." The room may not change all at once, but you can choose which voice gets the final word there. You are not the echo in the room. You are the one God still calls by name. Before you write anything, pause for one quiet breath. Then write this in the comments, "I am still seen." And if you can, add one small mercy you noticed today. Morning light, warm tea, a peaceful breath, or a moment when your heart felt less heavy. Let the comments become a room where no one has to feel unseen. Loneliness may visit your room, but it will not name your soul.